Welcome to Untying Knots, Minds and Souls Untethered with Perry Clark. This program looks at mental health from unique perspectives and shows you how to manage your life by finding the knots that help you and stay away from the ones that could be a disadvantage. Now, here is your host, Perry Clark.
Good afternoon, folks. And for all those of you listening, this is part of our Black History, Black Excellence, Black Pride Month of February. Now, I will be upfront. We are recording this in November, but this is for February's a celebration of us as people of color. Now, starting with that, the classic disclaimer is that this podcast is for education education and entertainment purposes. Does not count working with a licensed mental health provider, and do recommend you seek that out in your area. So we have a returning guest here today, which is Demetrius Holt, aka Hellspawn Cosplay, which, if you've listened to a few of our other episodes, you heard him talk about some things. He's got a new project that's coming out that we want to continue to support for this period. Now, Demetrius is a very noted cosplayer. And in fact, if you were watching the Black Adam premiere in New York, he was present for that as Hawkman. So, if you, like I said, if you've listened to our past ones, then you already know his bio. So let's just go ahead and get into this. So, how was it playing Hawkman?
That's a whole story unto itself. Myself and Eric Moran, who was the Black Adam cosplayer that day. Mm-hmm. He's got like a storied career as far as his interactions with The Rock himself. Because Eric is a former pro wrestler, and through the last 30 years or so, he and Dwayne have crossed paths on multiple occasions. So this time around, it was like a homecoming for him to meet up with Dwayne again. So I was just there for support, and I knew we both knew that the New York premiere for Black Adam was going to be pretty important, but we didn't know that we would be the only two cosplayers there. Oh, and this is the same week. This is the week right after New York Comic-Con, where there was a good 5,000 cosplayers not too far from where Times Square was. And for WB to have no one there to represent for them, except for just two guys that just happened to walk up to their whole activation up there. Yeah, they were extremely happy to see us. And they were like, "So you plan on being around all day?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So they took care of us. They made sure we had water, had a little bit of food, and we were taking pictures with all of the fans that came through Times Square for the next 7.5 hours.
Oh, so that was exhausting.
But it didn't feel like it. It was. I think we were running off of a lot of adrenaline and knowing that we were a part of something bigger, because we were able to get on stage. Like the big jumbotron is behind us, and and there was a few moments where I got a chance to like dance a little bit, and it's one thing to see a black man dance, but a black man in golden armor with golden wings that tantamount to about like maybe 10 to 12 feet across. Yeah, it was a sight to see, and I'm just extremely glad and happy that I was able to support Eric and the project and just be there. So it was good times.
Very nice. But that also speaks to what we're also here to talk about, how a movie like that, you think they would be taking more advantage of the cosplay universe to hype a movie like that. I mean, I don't even know how many were there for Wakanda Forever, but I mean, just noticing what happened with Wakanda.
Well, see, that's the thing. It was all about the leadership who took over WB and DC and all that stuff right before all of this happened. They are, Zaslav is the head of the Warner Brothers department when it comes to this whole movie thing. And I've heard a lot of rumblings, looking at the Hollywood Reporter and some of my friends who are like in the industry, that they are streamlining a lot of their budget to be so connected to the fans on that level. They'd rather keep their mindset focused on actually putting out better material than what they have been in the last, like, say, 10, 15 years. So, there's a bit of a void in community outreach from WB. And that's why there was nobody there at the activation. There was nobody, under their employ, because they just did not want to have it in their budget, which was silly, but it was fortunate for us. There's a certain level of exposure that they came with it. And plus also the way that we looked. You can't miss, Eric is like 6'4" and, big in a muscle suit. And I'm, with my wings and everything, like I'm about, 8 to 10 feet tall and in gold. So,
Exactly.
You can't really miss me. So yeah, it was, pros and cons, but it was an experience unto itself that I will never forget. And I'm so glad that I said yes to going.
Definitely. And you had also met Hodges during Comic-Con, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Aldous Hodge. Yes. Again, it's a whole nother story unto itself. The fellas that I went there with, 3 Black Geeks, and Big Gold Belt, we had went to the fandom party, Paramount Plus. It was a Paramount Plus party, excuse me. And we had went, and it was a good time. And then when we were leaving, I got pulled to the side, and I didn't realize that I got pulled to the side until I talked to the person who pulled me to the side earlier this week. And his name was Phil Boutte. And Phil is a co-founder of 9B Collective Concept Studio, which is one of the concept studios that helped pre-visualize and develop Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and a few other Marvel movies. But his co-founder is Aldous Hodge. And so when he pulled me to the side, because I guess he had been following me for a while on Instagram, he immediately recognized who I was, and Aldous immediately recognized who I was because earlier in the year, I had debuted the Hawkman cosplay, and he had shared it on his Instagram and stuff. So, I was like, I think I know you. He's like, I think I know you too. And then we had a nice little playful banter there. And, I was looking at the group of people that they were with, and, I know who Mark Bernardin was. I know who Akilah Cooper is, and there's a few others that were there, but come to find out, they are extremely important people to what my current endeavor is. And talking to Phil this week, because he and I had like an hour-long conversation on the phone, and he reminded me of who was all sitting outside when they were having dinner that night. And it's just surprising that I keep running into the same people in these circles, and I don't know it, but they notice me, or, I don't know. There's a lot of people who look at my cosplay career and just say that he must have like a crystal ball, or, that lightning in the bottle situation's always hitting for Demetrius, because for what I'm planning on doing and who I've been talking to and who's pulled me into one circle to another, I'm around some of the people who make things happen. And knowing that I've been able to make things happen on my end here from Baltimore, or, with my small projects, or people who have come from far and wide in order to support my stuff, it just seems like the universe is pushing me in a certain direction, and I just have to just continue to do as good work as possible, and keep myself as genuine and grounded as possible, because there's some people who would get to speak to some folks that I've spoken to this week alone, and they would feel like they are like top shit, that they are, that their head is bigger than the clouds and all that stuff. And I'm just sitting here humbled by the fact that I'm able to be considered to have a conversation with some of these people, because one of them, one of them, the commissioner of Los Angeles. I mean, I'm like, how am I in this circle?
yeah, I get that feeling. I mean, that was kind of, in some regards, even the feeling is having just being at San Diego Comic-Con. It's like, it's like I would have come to this as just a participant to enjoy it, and I was never expecting that I would even be sitting on a panel to be talking there. As a friend of mine, when I let them know this, is like, oh, you just got major geek creds. And it's like, okay, I'm not even processing that. But yeah, I get what you're saying, this aspect of where did you now find yourself? And just to me, you mentioned Akilah Cooper, who is one of the writers on Star Trek Discovery as well.
Yep, and Mark Bernardin is one of the writers and producers of Masters of the Universe on Netflix. So yeah, like what?
But equally, it shows how much of a smaller community we are in these fields too.
There you go. Yeah, when I say the circles are small, again, this week with everyone that I've been introduced to and actually had real conversations with, there's so much history between so many people, but there's so many people are so small in that same in that one circle. And it's like, geez, like if y'all are like the cream of what Hollywood and what Silicon Valley is and what the convention spaces can be, then you all know each other. You all have been dealing with each other for the last 20, 30 years in one shape, one form or another, because the circles, because it's just the table is, I would love to believe that the table is large enough for everyone to be a part of it, so long as they have something to bring to the table or able to make their own plate. But when you really get down to the nitty gritty of it, it's like 50 people, all of us being Black, all of us being, at, not at the height, but at a good stride in what we're all doing. It's got to be under 100 people that are actually movers and shakers in the bigger, in the bigger machine. And that's daunting. That is, for it to all come down on several people. And that's,
massive weight.
I don't envy them.
Yeah, massive weight. And also that aspect of how much stress comes up with the idea of if they step wrong, how does that screw up for others too? So there's got to be a lot of anxiety that's running through them that they've learned how to either harness or they're still dealing with. And that's also one of those things that I don't think that you can actually teach in school, but that's going to come through life experience and having mentorship with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine the amount of code switching they have to do. I can only imagine. Like in my experience, I failed at code switching when it was important, and I was 22. But it teaches you. That's what life is. It kicks you in the teeth before it sends you to the dentist. So,
yeah. But this has also been the thing which is why you're on here, is this new project, which right now has gone live here in November, but we want to continue to embrace that as we come into this February period and listening to this, is your new project, which is Blerdandpowerful. So tell us more about that.
So the Blerdandpowerful movement, or right now is just a hashtag, but it's the notion that we as Black people have been not so much ostracized, but considered to be less than when it comes to being in these geek spaces. We don't have the knowledge. We don't have the resources that our white counterparts seem to have, because immediately, the idea that somebody looks like us should not be in the space that we are in with them. That's inherent, right? If it doesn't look like them, it's not right. We see that right now with the casting of Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Wonder Man. He doesn't look like the Simon Williams in 616. No, but he looks like the Simon Williams in 1610. Like that's okay, But then even if he didn't, it doesn't matter, because comic movies are not actual comics. They are adaptations of the comics. So therefore, the fact that things change from when they were first conceptualized back in the 60s, when everything was all white, to having an audience that is more brown and Black, like as the world reflects it to be, they got to change some things. They got to correct the course. So Blerdandpowerful, for me, I see it as a declaration that not only am I a Blerd, but I am powerful in everything that I do. I command my space. I own my mistakes. I own my victories. And that gives me the power to not only grow, but to move forward. And I want everyone who identifies with those words on some level to continue to use that hashtag to make sure that they remind themselves that that's exactly who and what they are. Now, when I say that there is a larger plan in place, I am planning a networking event at San Diego Comic-Con 2023 in order to bolster Black-owned conventions financially. So the idea of hosting a party in order to bring high dollar investors so that they can see what, and because like let's just be real. San Diego Comic-Con is the mecca of geekdom. Like, it's become more intertwined with movies and television than it used to be. True. But the fact that you see the merchandise that you see, people come from all around the world in order to exhibit there. You know, San Diego Comic-Con, they have 130,000 people per day that come to that convention. The highest vendor's fee that I have seen is $18,000 for a booth to exhibit at San Diego Comic-Con, right? For all intents and purposes, San Diego is the height of what a comic book convention can look like. But there's a lot of people in the world, especially Black folks, who are not even aware of what San Diego Comic-Con is. They're not aware of the money-making possibilities. They're not aware of how it affects the city of San Diego as a whole, because the hotel industry, the restaurants, the clubs, the vendors, everyone who is a part of San Diego, that entire city gets a financial boon during those 4 to 5 days. You know, because people come from all over in order to attend this convention. Now, what do you think, or how do you think a city that houses a Black-owned convention could benefit from something that was half as popular?
Oh, yeah.
You know, think about it. So between Afro Comic-Con being in Oakland, California, DreamCon being in Houston, Texas, J1Con is in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Black Label Comic-Con is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and BlerdCon is in Crystal City, Virginia. Now, not all of those places are prominent, you know, cities that have the mega resources to house 130,000 people per day type situation, but they could be. If we're looking to invest in Black-owned businesses in order to uplift ourselves, the amount of good that can come from that would be amazing. Because if you invest in a Black-owned convention in order for it to grow, then that means that other Black-owned vendors would be able to exhibit in these convention spaces. Now, that's more money coming in because those are booth fees that are being brought into the convention. And then whomever's investing into the conventions and from the jump can get their return on investment from the rent from the booth fees. And then the community outreach aspect of it all. If you're building places for the youth to see how things are done on a creative level, they're able to interact with artists, musicians, you know, creatives on levels that they could only imagine meeting, you know, then not only do we pull them from a place where they might be in a negative, you know, space, but they see where they could possibly go if they work hard enough. You know, we have to teach these kids that the traditional routes are not the only routes that they can take in order to be successful in their lives. So if we're trying to get them away from the sports, like whether it be basketball, football, or whatnot, and then some people just don't work well in college, then, you know, you have to give them another way, another avenue. If it's not a trade, maybe they're artistic enough in order to support themselves. Maybe I mean, social media is something that people make a living off of now. There's a lot of people who are afraid to be public speakers. There's a lot of people who are afraid to put themselves out there. But if we gave them an opportunity to meet those who had the same challenges that they did or that they had or whatnot, then they can find ways and mentors to pull them from that area of, insecurity. So it's all about exposure and the representation of it all, of being able to fund these Black conventions that happen to be safe spaces for young Black kids, so that they are not in a mindset that this is wherever experience that they're having is the only experience that they can have. Okay. So if I'm able to pull, and it looks like I'm going to be able to pull together high dollar investors, sponsors, in order to throw a party that would be the sequel or would be a partnership to the original Blerd and Bougie party that the CWWB threw back in 2019, then it would be an amazing feat. So many people had such a great time at that party, and it made them feel like they were at either a homecoming or a cookout or just around family in a place that is dominated by white people. You know what I mean? San Diego Comic-Con is not truly Black friendly because it's all about the comics. It's all about that. But when you're around your own people, there's something special about that. And, we're not trying to be exclusatory or anything like that. But the idea that we can find a space and be ourselves without having to code switch, there's a certain level of like comfort and relief and release that we just don't have the opportunity to have on a major scale at a place like San Diego Comic-Con. So when that convention happened, or when that party happened, I was definitely looking for it this year in 2022, and it was not a thing, And so I was talking to Phil Boutte, and he was telling me that everyone that I met at that table was a part of the organization of Blerd and Bougie from 2019. And they were scoping out the scene to see if Comic-Con had really come back from the pandemic.
Right.
So
before they put the money into it.
Right. And for the money, the time and all that. And I didn't know that then. When I met them this year, but I didn't know that they were even planning or thinking about doing it again. I saw a void. I saw a problem. I wanted to fix the problem. And so I decided that on September 28th, I'm going to start something. So I started using the hashtag Blerdandpowerful because no one else had been using it. You did not see it anywhere on any social media. It was just not something, no words, no 3 words like that were put together. So September 28th was when I did the research, and then that's when I started using it. And as of now, I think there's like 1.3 million views under that hashtag. And that's November 22nd. So hopefully by the time this airs, people will look it up on TikTok and be like, oh man, was that 4 million views? You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get people to use it because I'm using the analytics as proof that there is support behind this. And I'm running ads, I'm talking to people. I'm just basically letting them know that Blerdandpowerful is all about funding Black-owned conventions. And if people have a 30-year mindset about what that would mean across the country, then there's no upward limit to what this could do, how much good this can do for our communities. Because and from my perspective, you see how at New York Comic-Con, you got legends like Christopher Lloyd, Michael J. Fox. They're still coming to these conventions, charging $250 per photo opportunity. Where are our legends? Where's Wesley Snipes? Where's where's everyone that we looked up to in the 90s through the where's Eddie Murphy? Where are all of our heroes that meant something to us in cinema or in genre, whatever? Why are they not at these conventions? Do you know how much good they could do if they showed up at these Black-owned conventions?
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Oprah decided to come to freaking Houston for DreamCon, or BlerdCon to, can you imagine the draw that would be, for people who have looked up for these folks and have never found themselves in a position to see them.
Oh yeah, because while we were at Comic-Con this year in 2022, as I'm just wandering the vendors area, I come smack dab in Walter Jones, the first Black Power Ranger, and it's like, okay, I got his signature and so forth, but you're all the way in the back of the convention hall.
Yep, and he was in a half of a booth.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I happened to notice then, as we were still that same day as we're wandering around, there's another one of the Red Rangers. I think it was from the Time Force series. Is up in a much more prominent space towards the front of it, and even then, it's like, wait, what's the big difference? This is one of the originals in America. He should be up at the front. No offense to the other Red Ranger, but still. And it's just like, and equally to that same point, what you're talking about the loss of ones. I mean, this is 2022. We lost Nichelle Nichols too. And I mean, mind you, where she was age-wise, she couldn't come to these conventions, but still, she was one of her major figure.
She's still acting though. She's still working.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like you're right. The fact that we're relegated to the back still, it's maddening because, again, I think it was the Quantum Ranger that was up there. And that's cool. But he didn't have the impact that Walter Jones did.
No.
When I got a video of me giving Walter, one of my Black Heroes Matter shirts because
yes, I saw that one.
Come on. These are the impact. It's one thing to be somebody who has done one part, in your entire history or whatever, but what did that one part do for several generations of people? You know what I mean? Like, what, you can't pay for that.
Even the TikTok that came out after the first Black Panther movie, where they had all the Black Rangers basically saying they weren't going to challenge for the throne with Walter there as well. And it's just like, right.
I mean, we as Black folks inspire in a way on a natural level that other folks have to work themselves up to get to, and it's because it's more natural with us to have that kind of effect on folks because we have a certain type of accoutrement, that we have a certain type of flavor that's indelible. And the fact that we are diminished or, dismissed on several levels and several occasions, it's disheartening. But so that's why we really have to invest within ourselves. So when I say invest within ourselves, I'm telling folks right now, like I made a video this morning, that, I can only do but so much if folks don't show up where I need them to show up. You all are asking me, how can you help out Blerdandpowerful? You have to use the hashtag because the hashtag is what makes things ubiquitous within a community. As soon as something rolls off the tongue to the point where it describes what you are doing, then that means that it's never going away. What search engine do you use?
I generally use Google.
Right.
Yeah. What does it do to the algorithms?
Right. I don't search for things online. I Google things. I don't call for a ride share. I call for an Uber or a Lyft. You know what I mean? Like those terms are now iconic, and my thing, and so is like Black Lives Matter. But excuse me, thanks to them, something that makes so much sense to us, Black Lives Matter is so threatening to them because now, white lives got to matter or all lives matter. Anytime they start throwing something to detract from what you're talking about, then they acknowledge that it's a threat to their existence, and that's unnecessary. But just like how Black Heroes Matter can't really be disputed on any kind of level, whether it be politically, whether it be racially. They'll try to they will try to diminish the term Black Heroes Matter, as in, oh, well, what if T'Challa was, to Chad, or, or some white boy or whatever. Like, your arguments are thin, because Black Panther's whole identity is based on who he is as a Black man, or is the fact that he is a Black man. Same thing with Storm. You can't do that. That's a non sequitur. That's something that they just dismiss and don't want to really argue. But when it comes to Blerdandpowerful, I'm not talking to anybody else but us. I am not focused on anybody else. Like, I love everybody. Everybody, we cool so long as you respectful, and you come straight. I come, come correct. That's fine. It's cool. But I am talking to my people, because my people are the ones who need to be reminded that they are Blerd and that they are powerful. Okay. There are too many times, too often, that we have been, just like you said, we have been relegated to the back. And being able to speak up for ourselves, being able to stand on our own 2 feet when we are dealing with trolls, or dealing with racists, or dealing with people who just think we should not exist, that takes a level of strength in order to just wake up in the day. And that's what we are. That's what we've been made into. Some folks are softer than some, but that's why you have some of us others who are here to help remind you of who you are.
Which is one of the beauties of how we can also bring this as a therapist to working with our Black children and Black teens, and even the adults who secretly realize they enjoyed all this, but it got shamed for them.
Right. It's the things that we use to empower ourselves when we have no power at all, should not be considered something that is weird, or something that is white. The principles and the ideals are what we need to pull from. I'm in the middle of watching Fairy Tail, which is an anime that a lot of people don't really consider to be essential anime, which is fine. It's cool. A lot of people don't like the fact that it's at its core just a show that's about the power of friendship. And what I'm pulling from this as an adult watching it is that there's a lot of lessons about digging deep and moving forward when you don't think you can move forward. And then knowing that you have other people to fight for gives you a certain type of strength that you would not have had if you didn't have them. So it might be about the power of friendship, but it's also about the power of oneself to fight for others, which is, I think, a lesson that people just don't get. Like, everything that I'm doing, I didn't plan on doing this, but these people have given me a platform. And with everything that I've been taught between my grandmother and between my parents, and, all the anime that I've watched and all the superheroes and stuff that I surround myself with, if you are given an opportunity and a voice and a platform to do good, then that's what you do. You take those opportunities to do as much as you can to make sure that other folks know that it's not so bad out here. You just have to make it what you need it to be. I've been invited to go talk to some Cub Scouts here soon. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, damn, like, am I old enough to be talking to kids about what they like, am I really of that age where I can speak to some level of life experience where they'll heed what I say? And I had to be told today, like, yeah, like, it's not about the age, but it's about what you've been through and what you've learned from it. And if the things that you're doing now are a testament to what you've learned and what you've, suffered through, then kids need to hear the positive side of it along with the negative in order to make the certain decisions that they need, that they have before them. So I don't know. Sometimes I lose a little sleep thinking about the responsibility that I have. I'm not saying that, the world depends on me. I'm not some sort of hero with some sort of hero complex or anything like that. But, I do have responsibility to act right on my own, to not react to certain situations that could very well put me in a bad space. And so I have to be responsible, we're all born with broad shoulders for a reason. So it's, if this is my weight, then I'm going to carry it. So that's where I'm at with that. Like it's been tough, but there's a whole focus to do right because I'm able to do right.
Well, I'm happy to be here to help support that. And I think this is a great place for us to take a pause break here. So come back for our second half, folks, here with Demetrius Holt. I'm Perry Clark, licensed marriage and family therapist, here on Untying Knots, Minds and Souls Untethered. We'll be back shortly, folks.
Do you have knots? Not the physical tightness in your neck and back, and not the ones on a rope, but metaphors for the helpful and unhelpful tugs in life that can help us ascend to a new level or stop us from falling too far back down. Join host Perry Clark for Untying Knots, Minds and Souls Untethered, a program about mental health and its practice from an Indigenous person of color. We'll help you find the knots that help you and avoid the ones that don't. Listen for new episodes every other week on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Our lives and the world around us can get messy and frustrating. Untangle and Grow Counseling's focus is to untangle that mess and make sense of it so you have a good foundation to build and grow from. Visit us on the web at untangleandgrowcounseling.com. Perry Clark offers individual psychotherapy, couples and family therapy, and adolescence therapy from a variety of coping materials and resources. Visit untangleandgrowcounseling.com for more information. You are listening to Untying Knots, Minds and Souls Untethered. If you have a question or comment about our podcast, send an email to pclark@untyingknotspodcast.com. That's pclark@untyingknotspodcast.com. And now, back to the program.
Welcome back, folks, for our second half here on Untying Knots, Minds and Souls Untethered. I'm Perry Clark, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm here with Demetrius Holt, a.k.a. Hellspawn Cosplay, a returning guest here, and a cosplayer who's done a number of things, from a version of He-Man to recently Hawkman, and included in that is a new version of one of our favorite mutants. Well, my favorite mutant is still Storm, but still one of the favorite and most noted mutants is Cyclops.
Yes. I don't know. Cyclops gets a bad rap because they're a damn show. In those movies.
Well, I don't know. Even some of the ways he behaves in the comic books, there's points where even he can be a bit of a dick.
Yeah, but no. When I say bad rap, I'm talking about people thinking that he's just soft or he's a pushover. I'm like, no. Man, he's quick with the blicky.
No, I would never consider Cyclops as being soft, but sometimes a dick, yes.
Yeah, I can identify. I do appreciate a good Scott Summers. So, and he was right.
Well, which can also be said that both Killmonger and Namor are right.
No. Because thing is with Cyclops, he at the end of the day he wanted to protect his people. He didn't want to go out and kill other people like Killmonger. He wasn't out to end lives in order to save lives. He was just trying to preserve lives. So if we can like have that level of nuance and understand that you do what you can to protect folks, then that puts Cyclops in a different category than Killmonger.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So no, I don't disagree with you. Don't disagree with you.
Nuance is lost in these communities. Whereas you say one thing, then that it's black and white. There's no gray.
Yeah. That is very, very true. And I guess when I say the aspect of being like Killmonger and Namor, and I'm talking about the movies, not the comic books, is that standpoint that there is a strength that we also have to show and not be moved easily in our lives and work. But that being said, you also had a very major project that involved X-Men and you being in the Cyclops cosplay. So why don't you tell us a little about that?
So back in July, BlerdCon, myself and three other cosplayers just happened to take cell phone photos as Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, and Bishop. And you know, it was just like we happened to run into each other, but we knew that we were going to be there. So, well, hey, you know, let's take a few photos and see what we can make out of it. And a couple edits later, and the entire month of August was all about us. One between two articles from Screen Rant, one from Comic Book Resources, and folks were saying, Demetrius, we should do something bigger. We should do something more in regards to that. I'm thinking, okay, all right. Here it is, July, August. I guess August 30th for October. What was it? October 21st was when Baltimore Comic-Con was. I was thinking, okay, so we got 2.5 months. Let's plan this out. Let's see what we can do. And I started promoting the idea of having a bunch of mutants come together at Baltimore Comic-Con for a film production, for a actual like shoot. And my friend Black Captain Kirk, or Tim Pisani, he on Instagram, he decided, he was like, hey, I won't have a problem directing this thing for you, you know. And then we ended up finding a videographer that would work with us, and we were able to pull, at the end of the day, I think, the amount of people who were planning to be there is about 42 people. So from 4 people to 42, and all of us were so many different mutants, and there was a few variants of each other, but it was amazing to have so many people dressed as X-Men, and all of us were just, you know, different nationalities, different backgrounds, and it was just a matter of just having so many of us together that had that look. And you know, we didn't get the chance to film everything that we had scripted out, that we had storyboarded. You know, people were not able to get there on time, or some people weren't able to get there at all, and we had to shoot around that. But you know, I'm being told that there is enough footage to put together something that you would normally see, you know, cosplayers doing on a professional level. It would be something that you would see like Hollywood. So I am hopeful. I'm letting the director and the videographer, I'm just a producer. You know, there's only so much control I can have. And this isn't just my project and my project alone. You know, I have to be a real leader and know when to step back and let others flex when they need to, and when they're good at what they do. So through a collaborative effort, that's how we get a really good product, is if you trust one another to do each other's jobs the way that we're supposed to do them. So right now it's in the editing process between the director and the videographer, and then we're going to send it to a composer who happened to be Mark Cooper, who is the composer of the first of the He-Man intro music. He's the guy who put that music together. So, you know, trying to keep it black, trying to keep it in the family, trying to keep it as familiar as possible, so that if someone does pop, you know, then everybody gets recognition one way or another, you know, because
that search algorithm.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's no reason in the world to pull up the ladder behind you. You know, I mean, especially if you're able to make other people look good and they enjoy it, that means that they want to do more themselves, and that they would want to join your projects in the future. Because I can't do this stuff by myself. And if they know that they're getting, you know, everything that I promised them, whether it be IMDb credits, whether it be, you know, HD footage of themselves, or opportunities for them to take photos in a way that they've never taken photos before. I'm talking about with smoke bombs, you know, like it's giving folks an opportunity to try something that they've never done before creatively. And just simply because I've got the ability to do that. And
Hmm.
And it wasn't because I'm also a power trip, but folks have trusted me with their materials or their products, and I put them in the hands of other people that could benefit from it more than so than I could at the time. Why not? The business still gets recognition, and these folks get some dope photos. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense to gatekeep. It doesn't make sense to lock people out of things or to not allow them to participate. I think folks who do that are silly, and they're damaging not only themselves but our own culture. Because you never know what kind of creative mind comes from someone who has been waiting for an opportunity like this.
Mm-hmm. Which gets back to what we were saying earlier about the nuance with Killmonger and so forth. And also, I got to say, because in watching Wakanda Forever, Shuri forgot that technically, at least in the movie universe, Killmonger is one of her family members.
Okay.
Because there's an aspect of, for those who have seen it by this point, most people should have. So It's not a spoiler. Really should not be a spoiler. But she's upset that Killmonger is the one who shows up for her, not her mother, not her brother, not even her father.
Well, that should let her know where her heart was at the time.
Right. But
that's all that matters.
But again, Shuri is much more about the head than the heart, which is what needed to be reminded to her.
This is true. Yeah, there were a lot of hidden, like,
Wakanda Forever worked on multiple levels.
Layered.
Oh, yeah. So many layers of that. Now, that's an episode all in and of itself, especially from a mental health standpoint, which is an idea. I mean, you need to talk to a couple of people.
Yeah.
But that being said, and we also need to be wrapping up here, you had one other major accomplishment that has come out this year, which was about your action figure.
Okay. So, yeah. Benjamin, this guy that's in France, right? Mm-hmm. He took it upon himself last year to try and do an actual action figure that was more of the current times than the Masterverse version that we've had back in the 80s. And he took like photos of my face and then put it into like a 3D design and sculpted the head and everything, and it's actually like on sale now. Like he can only make them as often as he can get the hair right. He's not proficient at it yet, but he's getting better at it. And he's got to do these things because they're based on the King Grayskull figure. Mm-hmm. He takes that body and then replaces the head, repaints it, and all that stuff. But apparently in France, that figure is really hard to come by. Mm-hmm. So he's limited in resources in doing so. But the first figure went on eBay auction for $313, and I am flabbergasted by that. And the one that I'm getting is a few days away, and I'm going to act a little different when I get it.
You got every reason to prance, buddy. Prance.
I mean, it's because it's a real. I mean, the one that I have is a great action figure that my son has been playing with and all this stuff. It's great, but to have a collector's item, that's not just a statue or whatever, but it's an actual figure that Mattel into itself could actually sell. And there's a part of me that feels like that's like the culmination of everything that I've worked for, but it's not. There's so much more between the PSAs and just folks that have gotten so much from this one cosplay. I know that's not the only thing that's going to come from it, but for me, for someone who collects these things, for me to be actually, again, for a second time, be a part of what I collect, it's not an ego boost. It's it makes my heart swell. It's like a natural, like if I was to be done with cosplay, what else could I do except for now try to fund Black owned conventions? Like, I've only been in for 5 years and I've I've made some strides that people won't ever make in 30, 40, 50 years. And there's no shade to them. It's just a matter of lightning in the bottle and the ideas that I've had that just happen to resonate with people, to the point where they want to make action figures. They want to make art. They want to make, they want to sell my face on clothing and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely, extremely, humbling. And I do not want to take it for granted. And I am not being cocky about it. I'm just really thankful. I'm really thankful that this is an experience that was unique unto me. And, I can help now wherever I can, where I couldn't before.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these ideals of doing the best or doing the most for others. And, I'm a former police officer, thinking I can do good for other people when there's a system out there that is designed to keep me from doing good, when you're in that kind of position. And now I'm in a place where everything good I do does exactly what it's supposed to do for who it's supposed to be for. And that's rewarding unto itself. I might not be making a whole bunch of money, or, I might not be in movies or anything like that, but you have to imagine being able to say, I did a good thing today, and someone be able to smile because you existed. What more is there? What more is there really?
Exactly. So I think that's a beautiful place for us to end for today. If folks want to be able to talk with you more and get more in, especially want to put those funds into the Blerdandpowerful, where can they reach you?
Well, Instagram, hellspawn_cosplay. I just joined Hive today at Hellspawn, because apparently Twitter's going away at some point.
We'll see where it is with this airs.
Right. But on Twitter, I'm at Hellspawn LLC, and Facebook, I'm on Hellspawn, and then TikTok is Hellspawn. That is where apparently a lot of people have gotten to know me a lot better, or a lot more, as opposed to Instagram. But because you have to have a personality to be on TikTok, and,
you work it there. You work it.
Yeah. It's been fun. I gotta do more stuff without a shirt, apparently, in order to make things pop. But what can you do? That's what sells. Sex sells. I got this thing with Marvel right now. Marvel and 100% Soft. They were the company. Did you see She-Hulk?
Yes. Oh, the whole Titania stuff. Yes.
Right. So Avengers, they're the ones that made those designs on those shirts. And like they sent me a couple of things to sell. I'm like, wait a minute, am I working with a company that works with Marvel? Does that mean I technically work for Marvel? I don't know. I don't know.
It's kind of like asking, it's kind of like saying, is Princess Leia actually a princess in the Disney universe?
She is.
And I agree.
She is. So, hey.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for having me. I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate your candor and, allowing me to get these messages out. I thank you so much.
Not a problem. Happy to help. And again, it's that little ways of trying to help show somebody they matter.
It's for the culture, maybe.
Exactly. So we'll be in touch. I hope everyone has enjoyed this Black History Month, this Black Pride Month, this Black Excellence Month. So stay tuned. We got more for you this month and to come. Have a good one, folks.
Thank you for tuning in for Untying Knots, Minds and Souls Untethered. Be sure to join your host, Perry Clark, for another episode on the podcast coming soon on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.